Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Matt Irvine. I work for Checkpoint UK and Ireland, and I'm here today to talk to you about our CloudGuard portfolio. CloudGuard is essentially a suite of products that protect customers in public and private cloud environments. So for those of you that haven't come across Checkpoint before, we're a global leader in cybersecurity with over 25 years of experience of looking after large enterprise customers right to kind of mid-size clients. You would know us traditionally as the firewall company, protecting data centers with our threat prevention suite. But over recent years, we've established ourselves as a key player in endpoint, mobile security, securing Internet of Things, and more recently, what I'm going to talk to you about today, both public and private in cloud environments. The key mantra here at Checkpoint is prevention, not detection. We believe that all of our tools should be offering preventative measures to stop things happening, because if it's already inside your environment, it's usually too late. We have three key areas within our portfolio today. We're obviously concentrating on cloud, but we're trying as a business to establish one single view of security across the entire business. So if you use our firewall technology, you'll know that we consolidate everything into the single pane of glass to manage that threat prevention suite. In the data center, we do similar in cloud, and today I'll be showing you how the cloud technology that we cover in the different areas are all pulled back to a single set of policies. We're going to take this further stages in the future where we'll consolidate across these different areas of technology for a unified management, unified SOC and unified threat prevention. So this is something that will be coming shortly from Checkpoint. So when it comes to cloud and security in the cloud, it needs to be automated. It needs to be everywhere. It needs to keep up with the CI/CD process that the developers work towards, making sure that it's constantly evolving, and at no stage is security there to stop things happening. It has to be embedded into that process and work at speed and scale. And on a cloud security roadmap, and I'll drill into this in more detail as we go through the slide, we have various clients. So if you've just started your journey into cloud and essentially you just want to extend your footprint of firewall and threat prevention security, then we'll show you today how that works and how seamless that can be. When you're more established in cloud, or actually as you're just kind of transitioning and taking workloads into public cloud environment, you need to understand what that security looks like. So being able to assess the posture of those workloads. You may outsource your development work to third parties, or have contractors in that are helping you build out your cloud environment. As we all know, this is a very kind of high demand area for skills. And those developers are trying to create entire environments. So in some cases, their key focus or their key strengths might not be security. So having a posture management tool, something that can check the state of the cloud security at all times, is key. Also going to cover off application security, how you can protect your applications and keep them relevant as the applications constantly evolve and become updated. Microservices, where we'll be looking at how we secure serverless and container environments, and how we also kind of can control code as it's being written, so be truly embedded into that pipeline process. And for those of you that run a SOC environment and run SIEM technology, you'll know that in the cloud, it's ultimately almost a different language for understanding cloud trail logs and VPC logs. So we have within the product set the ability to contextualize those threats and either push them through to a wider SIEM SOC platform, or just use it to do some cloud threat hunting. So the suite of portfolio looks, as you can see in front of us, it's one single entity that you're looking at today, with the exception of the network security threat prevention. This is our firewall technology that a lot of you will know and love, that essentially we just extended out to the cloud. We are a software business, so being able to extrapolate ourselves from the hardware and deploy an instance of our threat prevention suite in AWS or Azure, or a Cisco ACI suite or Nutanix is very easy. So you'll find that we're populated across a lot of environments. However, that environment is just an extension to what we already see in the data center. So when you extend out to the cloud with Checkpoint, you can use the same policies that you've built over the years to secure the workloads when they've been in your DCs. The rest of the suite of products is cloud native, so it works in a different way from the ingress egress technologies that firewalls work from. And again, those technologies are all consumed into one single platform. So it's one single set of policies across posture management, workload protection, web and application, and also when you come to the threat hunting, it's looking at that single vision to make sure that you can keep all of the AWS, Azure, GCP, Kubernetes, Ali Cloud workloads that you might have into one set of controls, one posture that you can manage, rather than having to go into separate tools and separate environments to make sure you're secure. By doing that, we hope to alleviate the gaps in the tool sets and the gaps in the skill sets as people adopt more and more different types of cloud workloads. So extending network security into the cloud. As I've said on previous slides, we cover most of the public and private cloud platforms that are out there at the moment. We've got great integration with the most popular ones, Cisco ACI, VMware NSX, AWS, Azure, GCP, as you'd expect. And we're constantly building out that portfolio of platforms we support. It's very easy for us to do because we're a software vendor, so deploying onto new clouds is something that we're easily and agile in addressing. And the unified management across those environments is key. So the more that you spread into a more of a cloud native approach to workloads, policies that work across those workloads is key. So it's the same set of rules, the same set of policies that you would have on-premise that you can extend out into private and public cloud environments. The same threat prevention suite, IPS, anti-bot, anti-malware, zero-day protection. It's all included within that. You don't lose any of the functionality by being deployed in the cloud. It works in exactly the same way. So we can protect both north-south and east-west traffic in cloud environments. And obviously from a developer's perspective, the architecture of cloud is a little bit different. You're not looking at IP addresses and how things are routed anymore. So tagging and the ability to track workloads as they move around in the cloud is key. But also being able to create zero-touch approach using infrastructure as code. So we've got the ability to create deployment templates and launch our platforms via Terraform, etc., as you'd expect. And just an example of that unified management and that single policy, you can see here that we've got a policy that's essentially across a team or an individual user, which can be applied to both gateways in the data center as well as public cloud, in this case AWS, and private cloud environment. So you need to go off to different types of technology to essentially create the same rule. That's the ethos of Checkpoint. The simplicity of being able to do it in one place reduces the complexity and, more importantly, the silos that cause the misconfiguration and gaps in security postures. So for the rest of the presentation, what we're looking at is a slightly different technology from your traditional ingress-egress threat prevention suite. Our posture management and workload protection and web application is all driven by APIs and communicated directly with cloud platforms rather than sitting on the edge of them looking at the traffic going in and out. So for those of you that have not come across a posture management platform before, ours is known as CSPM. It used to be known as Dome9, an acquisition that we did back in 2019. And one of the key things it did when it was launched to the market is gave customers the visibility of their cloud posture instantaneously. So in here you can see that we've got this is actually our standard dashboard that you get when you open the tool, but you've got fully customizable dashboards to tell you just what's connected in your cloud, where the challenges are. So if you're an individual looking after a particular workload, you could bespoke something that just is applicable to your particular environment. If you are person within the business that looks after governance, risk and compliance and needs to know where you're tracking against GDPR or NIST or 27001 or one of those governance frameworks, you can set up a bespoke dashboard to show you exactly what individual workloads or the entire cloud environment is doing against that particular type of framework or those particular type of frameworks. As well as that, we've got visualization tools. Cloud environments are always developing and growing and overnight, you know, one day to the next in cloud, there's always something different, something new. And to be able to visualize that on a screen, understand what's connected to what, how your cloud environment is growing out, what's interconnected, and more importantly, from a checkpoint perspective, what the security looks like to protect those individual instances and those workloads. So we give you full visibility of the environment and also how the security looks in those environments. So whether or not something is potentially exposed to an external IP or it's where it should be and kind of tucked away more internally for something like a database. And how the platform assesses what's good and bad with regards to security. Obviously, there's a huge amount of knowledge within Checkpoint, but everything we do is run against a particular compliance rule set. So we have things like best practice for all of the individual platforms. If you didn't have a governance framework or a particular compliance rule set that you needed to adhere to, right through to bespoke ones for financial services and healthcare and public sector. Most people have a combination of things like GDPR, NIST, 27001, and they have various different workloads that have various compliance and regulatory compliance associated with them. So what the tool does is allows you to address that workload and that compliance by going, okay, I will compare what, let's use NIST as an example, what NIST sees as secure for this workload, and in turn that will create a report. Those frameworks are great as a baseline, however, in order for the tool to be really relative, you need it to be bespoke to understand your security posture and be looking for challenges you find within the environment. So to do that, you're able to write your own rules. And we use something called GSL, Governance Specification Language, which is a series of statements that you pull together to create a rule. So it will let you, within the parameters of the platform you've selected, pull together what can and can't be done. So you don't need to be a developer to understand this. If you understand the nature of what you're trying to achieve in the cloud platform you're trying to achieve, it's very simple to use. And all of our rules, even the ones that are pre-formatted in existing templates, are written in GSL. So you could amend existing rules there, or you could create new ones from scratch, depending what you were trying to do. So you might want to lock a rule down to, I only want my workloads to be deployed in European regions. That would be something bespoke to you or to your business, or S3 buckets must be encrypted in AWS. Simple statements like that that you pull together through GSL enable you to customize rules very easily. Then you've got the compliance reports themselves. So when these reports are run, or when you want to run a report, bear in mind the platform is there to continually assess. There's no need to have a report per se. But when you run a report, it will show you the challenges that you face to become compliant. And these are prioritized as high, medium, and low, based on the framework itself, or our suggestion as Checkpoint is what we see as critical things that should be addressed. And then you just take a view of what needs to be done. It will tell you the underlying rule that you're not compliant with. It will tell you how to address that underlying rule. So it gives you the answers to go off and fix it, or the developer or whoever is responsible for addressing the problem, so they can drill down in infinite detail by the reports to know what it is they need to do to become more compliant or adherent to the rule set. Also, if you didn't want to do that in all cases, and we have a lot of customers doing this now, after they've kind of embedded the platform, is auto remediation, which is the ability to have the platform do the remediation instead of a ticket being raised or somebody running a report and seeing an issue. So if you have common repetitive challenges, then you might want to automate the remediation. I use the S3 bucket encryption as an example. You could say that there should be no storage buckets or no storage capabilities within the cloud platform that aren't encrypted. If this is the case, you could predefine that and have an automated rule set that says if a workload is launched without encryption, it gets rolled back or encryption gets applied to it. And we do this via just a series of serverless functions sitting in your environment. We predefine, pre-write some of those rules. We have over 300 kind of written. You just need to tweak them to work on your environment. Or again, you could create a brand new one from scratch if it was particularly bespoke. We have tamper protection, which is, you know, who can access what, who's allowed to work on particular workloads, particular users access to different environments. We can also address it via privilege escalation. So if you have a contractor, for instance, that should only be working in a particular environment for a particular length of time, you can allow them privilege escalation for 24 hours or a weekend period, maybe that they should need access to certain parts and certain areas of the cloud. And then that gets automatically revoked given the time period you set for that user. And then there's alerts and notifications. Obviously, as Checkpoint, we want to be telling you that bad things are happening and bad actors. So the platform is constantly alerting the required team, the security team, whoever it's relevant for, of things that they're finding in the system that potentially could be malicious. And part of that is you don't want just a screen in the corner showing the CSPM platform running. You need to make it part of the service chaining that is in cloud. So if you've got a ticketing system, we plug into the likes of ServiceNow and Jira. We've got several pre-written APIs for a lot of the platforms out there. So rather than having to go to the tool to check the alerts, those alerts are sent through that ticketing system, so they're immediately addressed. In addition to CSPM, we've got threat intelligence. This is the ability to ingest VPC flow logs, cloud trail logs, and provide real-time alerts based on the MITRE ATT&CK framework. It's the sort of tool that security analysts might use to investigate malicious activity. And you can see here we can give network traffic visualization of, you can see the skull and crossbones. That is known bad by our threat cloud, realizing that it's a bad actor, and we've seen it elsewhere. It does a scan on an environment. That's not a big deal. We see that all the time in the cloud and on the web. But when one of your workloads or one of your VPCs responds back to that, then what happens? We're able to visualize, you know, the connections, the interoperability between those, what's happened, what's potentially been infected, so needs to be deleted or at least quarantined. We can also show the user activity, the identity of the users, where they potentially targeted, what they've had access to. Historical data is provided on the platform, so we're storing these logs as long as you need them. Most people take them somewhere between 3 months and 12 months, but depending on how long you need to go back and investigate potential malicious activity, the logs are there to do so. Unlike the CSPM platform, which is API driven and is really only giving you the real-time information as it happens. We've also got the ability to visualize the user access and console access to the environment, so who's able to connect to and see what services. So we've covered off cloud security, posture management, and threat intelligence. The final section I wanted to talk about today is how we secure microservices and inject ourselves into the CI/CD process. The newest part of the CloudGuard family is our application security. This is a new approach to WAF technology that protects both your application and your APIs using machine learning instead of error-prone manual configurations. This means that you have a faster time of deployment, a lot less false positives, and we're protecting against the things you would expect WAF technology to protect against: the OWASP top 10, API attacks, bot attacks, all from a single platform, a single solution. We have the ability to check code at a developer level. So before it becomes a workload, we can check code for poor security configuration, things being left exposed. We can check for malicious content. This isn't a code checking software per se, it's really just focusing on the security element of it. So as code's being written, we'll check a repository so that the developer can make the relevant changes before it goes through to maybe the next phase in the CI/CD process. Container security, we run a number of services both in the build and runtime phase of the lifecycle of the container, such as image assurance. It is constantly scanning both in the development cycle and the runtime phases to make sure that we can automatically prevent deployment of any containers that do not meet corporate policy. A mission controller easily sets policies and guardrails, that it enforces least privilege access rights and ensures that all images come from a trusted source. Runtime protection, using machine learning to make sure that we're preventing known and unknown attacks and baselining behavioral and signature matches, and intrusion detection tooling as well. Our serverless security can detect and stop attacks with a single function to ensure that security posture is compliant. Using machine learning, the platform functions and automatically enforces runtime protection, as well as providing least privilege access for zero trust. Hopefully, throughout the presentation, you've seen that our approach at Checkpoint within cloud is both for unified security that's automated. Please feel free to reach out in the chat and ask any questions for anything you might have seen in the last 20 minutes of the presentation. Or alternatively, you can email me at mattai@checkpoint.com if you wanted to take your questions offline. Thanks very much.